Okay. Hello and welcome. This is High Priestess Jamila. Welcome to the Witches Broom podcast. I really hope that my audio sounds good for you guys because I noticed that the microphone on my device has been not so good. So anyway, hello and blessed be. I decided to start doing podcasting. I kind of like it better than doing live streams because I can sit here uninterrupted and just share my ideas and thoughts with you guys without any interruptions. Now, I am trying to see which one of these is the microphone here. And that way I don't have to keep the headphones in. Okay. Because anyway, I'm just going to kind of hold them here. I need to get a decent microphone is what I need to do. And I will. Okay. But this will have to do. So it has been an amazing 2024 already. And we talk a lot about the universe, and a lot of us witches do, even though a lot of times you can get preoccupied with things that I guess at that time you're supposed to be occupied with those things. Um, I am a devotee of Lilith. I also do work with Hecate, and then I am also um, one that works with the underworld. Let's just put it like that, because a lot of people are just not ready to understand that, which is understandable. Okay. But they actually led me to the universe. And I'm so excited about reconnecting in such a powerful way as I have reconnected. And so I wanted to do some musing about some of my discoveries. And the one thing that Spirit has been talking to me about is the retrogrades and how paying close attention to the retrogrades and just to the planets and the universe in our solar system itself is very powerful. Okay. It is very powerful, and it is actually very empowering to our work. So I have been doing a lot of planetary alchemy work, and it's been amazing. Okay. The main aspect of it is the retrogrades. And what's scary is that so many people in this world don't pay attention. So those of you that actually have the mindset to sit down and be still and actually listen to this, and then especially if there are some things that you need to work out within yourself, within your experience on this earth, then this is for you. And I feel that everything, not my family, not my children, not the people that I love, but there's so much being done to distract us. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine today about how I have always wanted a telescope and I'm going to get one next month. I'm going to invest in a telescope because the amazing part about it is that if you have a telescope, some of the planets that are closer to Earth, you can actually see them. I have been looking for some videos where people with telescopes have captured Pluto, and that has not been very fruitful. So I can imagine that Pluto is very difficult to catch on the telescope. Now, speaking of Pluto, Pluto is going to go into retrograde in May. And I feel that I'm going to be ready for that. I feel that even though this planet is so far away from us, that when it goes into retrograde, it kind of gets even worse. It does. Pluto is the planet of changes. And I truly believe that the the descriptions of the planets, even though I believe that they do affect us in different ways, I feel like we all have our own individual relationship with these planets, okay? And I think that they affect people in different ways. So it's going to be interesting this year to see how things pan out this year with paying attention. So, in order for you guys to understand what I'm saying, my spirit guides, from what spirit has communicated to me, is that when these planets start moving away from us, which is retrograde, that's when it's time to pay attention. But then I also feel as though the majority of the occupants on this planet have had things taken away, information, energies being taken away from them, and just a lot of selfishness and greed. And I feel that that's why things kind of get worse for people around that time of the retrogrades. And so the way my spirit guides, the way spirit has presented it to me, is that retrograde means energies being moved further away, which not a whole lot is being done to bring these energies down to us. Okay. Um, and so that is, to me, something that we need to pay attention to. And so I started playing around with herbs and stuff. I've been playing around with herbs, but making my alchemy herb mixes, I haven't done any oils, but I have done a lot of alchemy planetary bottles, witch bottles, to capture this energy so that it can be used. So when I think about Pluto, right off the top of my head, I feel like in May, this is when things can drastically start slowing down. Pluto is the planet of change and transformation, and I feel that it affects us worldwide. And so Pluto will be in retrograde for 5 months, from May the 2nd until October the 11th of 2024. So during that time, I plan to utilize my alchemy witch bottles that I am currently charging, and they're getting stronger, because the way that I make them, obviously, I'm not going to reveal how I make them. How am I harnessing this energy from the various planets? I can't reveal that. That's obviously a secret of how I do it, but just know that I'm doing that. And so to me, Pluto is like the planet of action. But when you think about it, so is Mars. Mars is the planet of action. It's the planet of fire. It's the red planet. Okay. And, you know, I feel like this planet can affect people in different ways. And I feel like it affects us globally. So for example, Mars is going to go into retrograde December the 6th of this year and last all the way into February the 23rd of 2025. So some people may feel that that causes some kind of stagnation. Now, can you imagine going through Pluto in retrograde from May until October, to go back through Mars in retrograde from December to February of next year? So that is where I feel, and it's not that I feel, I know that I have these energies figured out, because there's been so many things just for me personally, and I work with clients on um, all sorts of issues: love issues, money issues, healing, um, court cases, self help, shadow work, cleanses. I do the traditional stuff, but I feel that this, as a part of the self care, will help people to achieve their goals. And it's definitely something that I actually feel strongly that Lilith had been communicating this with me. But then it didn't really become clear until I connected with Abigor. Okay. And so I'll get into that later. Now, there's not going to be any Venus retrograde this year, which could either have a positive effect or a negative effect, because I feel that when these planets go into retrograde, they also do help you to reassess. Most people don't think that they have much significance, okay? But they do, okay? Now, then let's look at Uranus. Uranus is going to go into retrograde in September 1st of 2024 and last until January the 30th of 2025. Uranus is very important because what it does is Uranus, this planet, helps me personally, and I believe others, to be able to separate themselves from situations that they don't want to be involved with. I've never seen this phenomenon before, which is people wanting you to be like them, or either wanting to be you. And so I think that Uranus is very deep when it comes to that, when it comes to identifying self, and when it comes to protecting your basically your identity. I think that that is what Uranus is essentially about. Okay. Give me a second, you guys. I'm sorry. I've got people texting me. Okay. Sorry about that. Um, so Uranus is a very important planet. Because of that, Uranus is all about individuality as well as independence. And I think that that is very important for us, okay? Um to have, okay? I think that there are a lot of people that have an issue with that. There's a lot of people that have an issue with that. Even though you can have similar ideas, you can have similarities, you're an individual person. And for me, I wouldn't say that I'm a loner type, but what I've noticed is that when I am in my own zone and I am functioning and connecting with energies that I want to connect with and doing my own thing, basically, it seems that there's people that want to sort of invade and inject, sort of. So I think that Uranus is very important with that. However, like I said, um, Mars could play a part in that. So could Pluto. So could even Saturn. But I think that specifically when it comes to knowing, I don't want to say knowing self, but actually having the ability to sort of go into your own zone, so to speak. Um, because I know that for me as an empath, I have on several occasions just been extremely frustrated, extremely, and it definitely accumulates throughout the years. But I've been extremely frustrated with feeling as though I want to focus on something. I want to focus on what I want to focus on, but then other people want to focus on something different, something totally outside of something that I would even enjoy talking about. And it totally frustrates me. So I think that Uranus is the key to that, ultimately, to saying, listen, you know, and especially if it's not anything important that is about, things that you care about, things that you're supposed to care about. If you have to have your priorities in order, your priorities in check, okay? And other people, or groups of people prioritizing something different, and that's not your priority. And, so I feel that Uranus is pivotal in that. And then also when it comes to that codependency, and then being able to speak publicly and be heard, and to be understood, and to be identified correctly, to not be misunderstood. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people frustrated, very frustrated, for people sort of invading their personal spaces, And then when you don't want your personal space invaded, people judging you because of that. So, like I said, I think that I think that Uranus in retrograde, especially if you were born with it in your chart, it can affect you in different ways. Um, and so it just depends on the individual person. Now, Jupiter will go into retrograde October the 9th and will last until February the 4th of 2025. Jupiter is the planet of abundance and money and good luck. And so I feel that when Jupiter goes into retrograde, which means that it's moving away, that means that possibly there could be more people having situations of bad luck, money loss, loss of jobs, feeling a little down, feeling like your mojo is kind of off. Like I said, it affects people differently. So when it comes to Jupiter in retrograde, I feel like what people can find is stagnation or either lack, because that's a money abundance planet. But then again, Mercury is as well. A lot of people think that Mercury is all about communication. No, Mercury is also about health and wealth. Okay. So Mercury is going to go into retrograde April the 1st until the 25th, August the 5th until the 28th, and then November the 25th through December the 15th of 2024. So this planet, we went into the new year with Mercury in retrograde. Okay. So this planet is going to go into retrograde technically 3 times this year. And I think that Mercury is not just about communication, but it's also about connection on a deeper level. Okay. Which in the tarot, it is identified by the Hermit card. And a lot of people, when they read the tarot, when they're reading it in a certain way, or depending on what situation they're looking at the Hermit as, oh, someone being very isolated. But in reality, the Hermit is really about soul searching and finding something. And then Mercury is about so many other things. I think Mercury, just like Uranus, is all about identity. It's all about treasures and possessions and things of that nature. So when Mercury goes into retrograde 3 more times this year, um, I think that we should be prepared for that. And so what's the next one? Saturn is going to go into retrograde June the 29th until November the 15th. Now, Saturn, to me, just off my head, like I said, it affects people in different ways. I think Saturn to me is like the planet of respect. It's the planet of boundaries. It's the planet of, hey, I'm not going to suffer for your sins, so to speak. You know what I mean? So I think Saturn is extremely important, and that joint, that joint's gonna be retrograde for, is that 5 months? Yeah, that's about 5 months, 6 months. No, 5 months. Yeah, almost 5 months. That's gonna it's going to be a mess, especially if you have things to resolve. And I think that starting with self to resolve those issues, because the problem is issues that are affecting you. Okay, there's an issue here, but is it affecting you? And if it is affecting you, what are you going to do about it? Okay, what are you going to do about that? So I actually make a Saturnian Mars. We put the two planets together because Mars is about power and action and, you know, just setting boundaries. And then Saturn is the same thing, only Saturn is more so about accountability. So a lot of people on this earth are suffering because of other people's mistakes. So Saturn is kind of like that as well. It's kind of like, I feel, to me, that it's almost like freedom. Okay, it's like, oh God, I so but I think, like I said, it affects people in different ways, just like all of the other planets. It just really depends. I feel that it depends on your sun sign. I feel like it depends on your upbringing, and then what other planets were in retrograde when you were born. And so, speaking of that, I want to talk about that real quick, about retrograded planets. There are some people who only had one planet in retrograde. There are some people that possibly had none. But there are some people that had three to four to five to six to several in retrograde. And what I have noticed is that those people typically have a harder time, in particular when Jupiter is in retrograde, in particular. And so you have to think about, if you were born that way, a lot of people are going to have unresolved issues from that. They're going to have things that they have to work through, which can be very difficult because your experiences and the way that you look at the world is affected by the events that happen to you in your life. Okay. And so it takes, I feel that in my advice to a lot of people is to change your perception of your world, and then you'll start living better, feeling better, and being happier. I don't think anybody wants to be unhappy. I really don't. I think that people can be so unhappy that they will actually delude themselves into actually trying to convince themselves that they're happy. And then there's some people, they just don't even pretend. um, I think that your experiences on this planet definitely relate to your connection to the universe. Okay. And then, of course, in the months leading up to your entrance into this world, okay, that sort of maps it out for you, right? What was your mother's experiences as well? So there's a lot of wounds and trauma that has to be worked through. And I feel that connecting with the universe, truly connecting with these planets, is important. I really do, for self-help, for healing, for, progression in life, for getting ahead. And I'm trying to see if so Neptune, I didn't really go over Neptune. Neptune in retrograde, July the 2nd through December the 7th of 2024. So Neptune to me is very similar to the moon, and it's very similar to Mercury. Um, Neptune is almost like dreams or nightmares, sort of. So Neptune can be a planet that, if it's in retrograde, what I found and what I've always noticed is that you kind of feel less magical. Okay. Less magical. And it's almost like you don't, it's almost like being disconnected from your magic. It almost feels like, what is going on? Because Neptune is actually connected to the occult, and magic. And, all of the planets are. However, Neptune is one that is important when it comes to magic, because you have to connect to your ability to to have that vision of manifesting your reality. So I think when it goes into retrograde, what ends up happening is that a lot of us with any of these planets, you kind of feel a little lost, right? It'll kind of make you feel a little lost, like insecure, especially when Mars goes into retrograde. I feel like a lot of people start going through feeling insecure, which will be from December to February. Um, yeah, I think that it creates that side effect. In fact, if you were to go back and look at last year and reflect on last year, and look at the world and then the people around you, either the people that were in your life, your lovers, maybe even your family, or either maybe even people that don't like you very much or people that you don't get along with, you'll notice that they seem to be very insecure. Okay. And I think that as human beings, we can't help but to be somewhat affected by that, especially if you're very empathic, especially if you are sensitive, or if you have certain spiritual gifts. What if you could deal with these times of peril just with total clarity and strength? Because as an empath, guys, and especially living in the world that we're living in, I don't want to feel what other people are feeling all the time. I don't want it to hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't want that. And I don't think that it's fair. I think that if you can get yourself to a place where you are highly, in your swing and you're just grooving, and for somebody else to just come in and try to mess up your flow, and they actually have an intention of doing that and they're able to do it, I'm just not into that. And so I feel like there's a great deal of protection out in the universe. Now, the last planet that I want to muse about a little bit is Chiron. Now, Chiron is going to go into retrograde from July 26th to until December the 29th of 2024. Chiron is dubbed by astrologers as the wounded healer. Okay. And I do feel that the planet of Chiron is connected to healing. And so I feel like people that have issues with sicknesses and things of that nature possibly could have had Chiron in retrograde. That's a possibility, but again, these planets affect all of us differently. If your Chiron was in retrograde, that may make you have financial issues or love problems. Okay. Especially when things don't make sense. When I look at the world and things are happening that make absolutely no sense, I feel that rather than living in that chaos, we are supposed to make it make sense. And Lilith says that to me all the time. She does. Make it make sense. And I always do. But I think that there are so many people that don't know how. They really don't. And so when it comes to feeling as though you're not getting what you want in life, or you feel like you're not progressing or growing, I feel that this is key. Now, do I think that it's correct to grow and then attack people? No, I don't. I think that the reason why people are on the attack is because they are starving. They are starving not for food, but energy, alchemical properties of these planets, especially being that on this planet, a great deal is being done to block your connection, period. So if you were born with these planets in retrograde, and then your aura is blocked, your crown chakra is blocked, then you're going to have a lot of problems connecting. And I don't think age has anything to do with this. I think that anybody can discover the universe and heal themselves. Okay. Heal themselves and do better and get better and just live the life that you want to live. Now, the sun and the moon never goes into retrograde, guys. However, you can be born with your sun or your moon in retrograde. For example, if your north node is in retrograde, but your north node zodiac sign is a Cancer, that would be the moon. Or if your north node zodiac sign is a Leo, that would be the sun. So that slight imbalance, it's almost like the scales can get tipped very easily. Okay. And so and then, when you look at things like Neptune, illusions can be created by Neptune, illusions can be created by the moon, or either Mercury, you know. And so it's not to say that, oh, you just get to go through life and never have any disagreements with anybody. No, you're supposed to, otherwise, it would be boring. But I don't think that people are supposed to be doing what they're doing, which is fighting and violence and things of that nature. Like, come on, how is that going to make it better? That just makes it worse. So I have been making many, many, many alchemy bottles for clients. I've made an entire set for myself. Not only do I have a retrograde jar for myself, but I also have retrograde jars for all of my children. And I'm getting ready to do one for my granddaughter. Um, but I also have all of the other planets. I have alchemy planetary jars. And so eventually on this channel, I am going to show those bottles. And I think I've got every one of them except for the sun or the moon. I don't really feel the need to do one for that, but I might. I've got to refill my sun herbs and I've got to get some calendula. Is next on my list because I'm out of calendula flowers, but I'm gonna get some for that. I love calendula flowers. They're so pretty, and I'm gonna get some ordered. And so I'll probably have that done by this weekend. Uh but I wanted to definitely reconnect first with those planets that were really, really, really far off. Um and to just be able to have those um, readily available, and they have been helping tremendously. And I'm so excited about this, because for so long I feel like I have sort of been in the dark, and like the hermit or like the chariot, I feel like I found the light, finding it was literally like I went through all of that to reconnect with the universe. And I feel so lucky to be doing that during my lifetime, you know? And so I know that there's problems that people are working through. And I think that this is a way to help deal with those problems. A lot of people, when they're dealing with problems, of course, there's still the need to possibly do a reversal, or there's of maybe some energy somebody sent to you, or there may need to be a need to banish a spirit, or there may come a time where you have to trap a spirit. So I'm not saying that this is completely replacing, all of the things that we do, because I practice necromancy, and that's a part of necromancy, is trapping a spirit, banishing a spirit, communicating with a spirit. And I'm not saying that we don't need our deities or spirits or goddesses or gods. I'm not saying that we don't need them or our ancestors. I'm saying that this is what they led me to. And it's so amazing that it's been keeping me up at night. Okay. Anyway, so, and not in a bad way, in a good way, because I've just been kind of enjoying life, just enjoying every single second of the day. I always have been able to catch myself. Okay. But I see other people doing it. Oh, I just want this day to be over. And I understand that. Oh, I just can't wait for this day to come, because I have an important day coming up as well. But I feel that it's important to be present in the present, right? Because there's so much that you can do in the present to make things better for the next day and the next day and the next day after that. So, that's important, okay, guys, and don't lose sight of that, okay? Now, in my next podcast that I'm going to record and upload in just a few minutes, it is the story about a dream. I'm going to take y'all through a dream that I just had at the witching hour. It is very vivid. I'm going to try to articulate it the best way that I can. I'm going to try to link that podcast in the video description box somewhere. And this podcast that I'm going to do next, which will be shorter than this one, maybe, I'm not sure, but it was actually Hecate or Hecate came to me in a dream. And so it was really, really, really exciting. It was, when she does that, I always get excited, even though I know that Hecate is always here. But this was just so obvious. So I hope you guys enjoy that one. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure that you guys subscribe to the Witches Broom channel and check out my website, divineservicesapothecary.com. Okay. All right. Blessings, you guys, and blessed be.